everybody. My name is Deshae Peacock, and this is Sweet Spot Style. And today I'm interviewing my awesome client, Stephanie Johnson, who is a lifestyle mentor and the author of Heal Your Soul. And today we're going to be talking about how she used the 7 steps of Sweet Spot Styling your business to transform her life. So welcome, Stephanie.
Hi, Deshae. How are you today?
Great. Thanks so much for being here. And so let's just start off. And whenever I work with a client, I always ask them to come up with an intention around their lifestyle. So why don't you just start by sharing with us what your intention was when we first started working together?
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to actually read it because I went back to the intake form that I filled out for you in the very beginning when we decided to work together. But what I wrote was, my intention was to move forward and take the leap with having accountability and support from you. And the number one thing that I wanted to do was get clear on exactly what it was I wanted to do. Because I had I was a little bit all over the place, kind of a little bit here, a little bit there. And I really wanted to kind of focus and bring it in and figure out what did I really want to do and how did I want to move forward. So that is what I had originally put down when I started working with you.
And as I recall, you were in a job that wasn't your sweet spot, right?
Absolutely, yes. I call it my JOB. And I had been, I've been working since I was 15 years old. I've always been very independent. So for me to have a job, was not, out of the ordinary, as I think for most people. But in the last 3 years, I had actually fallen into a job kind of by accident, and it wasn't what I had done most of my adult career. And it was so unfulfilling for me. It was selling software, and I am like the most technically challenged person. So for me to be selling software was kind of a joke, but so I was pretty, miserable the last couple of years and trying to figure it out.
Yeah, so when you came to me, you were miserable in your job, and we had a big discussion about that. What do you do when you are earning a good figure, but you're just not happy in your job? And you use the word soul sucking, I believe, and also you want to start your new business. So we've only had 2 sessions together, and a lot's happened since then. So would you mind sharing with the audience, sort of what occurred after those and during those last 2 sessions we've had?
So what happened is, I believe you can't do this alone. So anytime you want to take a leap, whether it's in your personal life or in your career or start a new business, it always helps to have somebody there to mentor you. And so, because sometimes we're great at giving advice, but we're not so great at actually listening to ourselves and taking the advice within ourselves. So for me, what happened was, I think, when I started working with you and I set that intention to really be open and to focus on getting clear what it was I wanted to do, what I heard was my soul screaming, because it just wasn't living in alignment with what I really wanted. And one of the biggest things I would say that came out of it in the first couple weeks with you was when I realized I had a money block. And I didn't know that, because I've read a few of the books that are out there, Love or Money or, Get Rich Lucky Bitch, all of those. I thought I cleared all that. But when I was working with you, I don't even remember. It was one question you asked me, and it just flooded me. And that money block for me was that when I was younger, my mother, she was supportive, but she never told me, you can do anything you want, you can be anything you want. One of the things she always told me was that you need to find a good man to take care of you. What she meant by that, I don't really know, but the way that it registered with me and the way that it came up when I was, working with you was that I wasn't worthy enough, I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't confident enough to go out there and make my own money. So I better find a man to take care of me. So for me, I think what I was doing, subconsciously or in the back of my mind was I was working hard, and I always made sure that I had a paycheck, and I always made sure that I was independent enough to support myself so that if there was a man there, I didn't need him. I wanted to kind of prove my mother wrong. So I realized that is what was happening to me, and I was getting so stuck on having that paycheck, even though it was, soul sucking. I wasn't listening to what I really wanted because I was scared to take that leap, because if my paycheck was no longer there, then I was going to have to depend on a man, which is exactly what my mother had told me to do all along.
And then what happened after that?
Once I realized that money block, I realized that, okay, you know what? Now that I know what the issue is with me giving up a paycheck, it's ridiculous. It's not true. So I wanted to go to my husband and just say, hey, I'm quitting this job. Luckily, I am fortunate enough where I don't need to be tied to a paycheck. Sure, it helps us. It's a little icing on the cake sometimes. But for me, it was more about giving up that independence. But also what came up was I was really afraid of letting my husband down or stressing him out, because now without, my extra paycheck, that puts a little bit more on him as far as our financial obligations go and things like that. So I had been afraid of stressing him out. So in order not to stress him out, put pressure on him, or put more pressure, any pressure on our marriage, I was living unhappy. And I realized that was not fair. So I think being able to clear that money block, at least be aware of it and notice it and go, okay, this is not true. And then the second one, noticing that I was living unhappy just so I didn't stress my husband out, I was able now to deal with those. So what happened was it was a Sunday, and my family was actually out enjoying a barbecue at our friend's house. And I was scheduled to go on a 3-day business trip. And so I couldn't go and have fun with my family for the afternoon because I needed to pack, I needed to prepare for my business trip, prepare for my meetings, for my job. And I just literally had a breakdown in my closet when I was pulling out my clothes and packing. And I said, this is it. I've had it. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. This is going to be my last trip. So I thought, if my husband stresses out, then he stresses out. That's his problem. He'll have to realize that's his issue. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to make myself happy. So he got home that night, and when the kids went to bed and we got in bed, we got our cup of tea, and I said, okay, so I need to talk to you about something.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an option. It wasn't asking him what he thought about it. Does he think I should do this? It was, this is what I'm doing. I can't do this anymore. So he did stress. He does this when he's stressed, so he started doing this. And I just had to reassure him that it's going to be okay. That once I'm doing something, it's not that I didn't want to work. I just wanted to do work that I enjoy. And I know, and I'm a true believer, that when you're doing what you love to do, the abundance is going to flow. So that's, what I told him. I go, I'm probably going to make more money than what I'm making now because I'm finally going to be happy. I'm going to have the freedom to do what I want.
Exactly. And so then what happened?
So then I decided, okay, I'm going to go on this business trip. And you know what I did? It was the best business trip because I had made that decision. I had changed my mindset about my life, and I had changed my mindset about what I was worthy of or deserving of. And so honestly, it was the best business trip that I had been on. I was in LA, I was in Beverly Hills. My meetings just ran smoothly. In between, I had so much free time. So I would sit at the cutest little cafes or lunch places, and the weather was gorgeous. And I just really sat and I enjoyed it. And I looked around and I thought, how lucky am I to be here right now? And so one of the things I really believe in is gratitude for what you have right now. And once you can realize that, then of course more comes into your life, more abundance, and and all of that. So that's what I did. And then I turned in my notice for at my job. And once I did that, everything has just been falling into place. So many opportunities have opened up to me, not necessarily in the way that I thought I was going to be pursuing my business. And what I had to realize was that you can't always try to play the end of the story, because what you have in mind for your life, it may not happen that way. You may get there, but you may get there by taking a different path. So what I realized was you really have to be open to all the possibilities. First, get clear on what you want to do, make that decision, change your mindset, and then just let the universe show up for you. Once you stop trying to plan it out, because that's kind of exhausting, and then it's frustrating because if it's not going according to your plan, you're like, okay, this isn't working, I'm going to throw it out the window, I've got to start over. If you just stop trying to do that, but you're still taking action steps towards what you think, opportunities are going to show up. And that's exactly what has happened for me. And it's allowing me to go back and do what I did for 22 plus years in the corporate world, but now do it for myself and at my own pace, and going into a business with another owner that has come to me for my expertise in that. So that was just completely out of the blue for me. One of the things that I had decided a couple of months ago is that I wanted to get back into real estate. I do have my real estate license, but I kind of wanted to grow my own little real estate empire. I wanted us to get a few little houses and do rental houses and start growing. When I said it, I said to the universe, I want my own little real estate empire. But I didn't sit and think about it too much. I just threw that out there. And now this is the opportunity that once I made that commitment that I wanted to change my life, I wanted to be in control of my schedule, be free with my time, but yet make money. This is the opportunity that the universe put in front of me, is this person coming to me for my expertise to come in as a partner and help grow his property management company. And I'm doing it all as a consultant, so it's all on my time, my own business. And it was just amazing how it showed up.
And I love this because it follows exactly the 7 steps, that we talk about in Sweet Spot Style. So 1, you got really clear on your intention. You set your intention, you got really clear about what you wanted in your lifestyle, and you said you wanted more freedom. I mean, you had what a lot of people would consider a really good job. And a lot of people would say, oh my gosh, but you're making a great living and you get to travel and you work from home. Why would you give that up? So I know there's people who listening here who feel like they have, everybody else thinks they have this awesome job, and inside you're miserable and you don't have any energy, and you don't have any energy for the things that you really want to do in your life, but you're holding on because everybody else thinks how awesome that is, right? But when we went through that money block and it just hit you, it was like, even though you had read all those money books, it just hit you that this was this message, is that you were holding on, maybe not a negative belief, but this limiting belief, or this belief that, your mother had told you that you needed a man to take care of you. Like, how many of us have heard that? Like, my mom didn't tell me that, but I remember one of my good friends, her mother told her that one day, like, you need to marry rich. And she got that message. So girls get this message. But you didn't really follow that. In your mind, you were like, I'm going to prove my mom wrong, and I'm going to make sure that I make money no matter what. I'm going to take care of myself, even if it means I'm in a job that I don't really love. And so, but then when you realize that, and then you let go, regardless of, and this is the hard part, you were nervous what your husband was going to say. We would all be nervous. I was nervous when I had to tell my husband. I told my husband that I was taking this online program for $2,000. And he said, why are you spending that much money? And I said, because I'm going to start my own business when I quit my job. And I told you, his reaction was, we're going to lose everything. We're going to lose everything. And it's like, wow, you really don't have a lot of faith. But you know what? I did it anyway, because I'm a risk taker, because I believe that when we put our intentions together and we're coming from our higher purpose, the universe will meet us. And it does take faith. So look what happened. Within 2 sessions of us getting together, you set your intention, you were clear, you took a risk, you had faith, you quit your job, which that even shook me up. I was like, oh my God, you quit your job. We didn't talk about that already. how long did it take after you quit your job before you got this new opportunity, or what was the order of that?
Honestly, once I made up in my mind that I was going to quit my job, I hadn't officially given them my notice yet because I was waiting to get through my business trip. I was waiting to wrap up just a few things. So in my mind, I had made the decision, okay, on Monday, I'm going to turn in my notice. I'm going to talk to my supervisor. So the opportunity for this other real estate opportunity came before I even officially turned in my notice. So that's how I knew it was meant to be, because the universe was showing up for me. Even though I hadn't expressed it to my current JOB, the universe said, because you made that decision and you took that leap and you're trusting, I'm going to show you what the beginning of my plan is. And for me, that was enough. And it was, for my husband, it was really kind of hard for him to understand. And like you said, some people go, oh my gosh, you have a great job. You get to work from home. It looks so easy. Why would you quit? Well, for my husband, he's owned his own business since he was 18. So he's never punched a time clock for somebody else. He's never been told where you need to be, you need to do this, go on this trip, So he's never had that. So for him looking at me going, wow, you get to sit downstairs in an office and you don't even have to get dressed if you don't want. He thought that was, easy. But for him, he loves what he does. That's why he's had his business so long. And so I had to really explain to him, that doesn't matter. The paycheck amount does not matter to me. I know it matters to him because he likes money, but for me, I just needed to be happy. I need to get up in the morning and be excited about my day. And it had really gotten to the point where I was feeling sick. I would get up in the morning, think about all my meetings or what I had to do that day, and I literally felt sick at my stomach and exhausted, like just so exhausted I wouldn't even want to get out of bed. So it was great the way that the universe, like I said, just showed up, right when I made that decision. And that's how I knew, okay, I'm going to just keep trusting and things are going to fall into place. And it's been easy ever since.
I just want to touch on a point that you mentioned earlier. And you talked about how when you set your intention, that you kind of opened the door for opportunities, right? And I just want to highlight the fact that that's what happens when you set your intention around your lifestyle and how important it is to set it around your lifestyle. So what you wanted was you wanted work that was fulfilling and where you felt like you had more freedom. And you didn't say exactly what that was. Like, you thought that it was probably going to be through your new business that you're creating, and you're still working on that new business that you're creating. But what you didn't know was that someone was going to approach you out of nowhere right when you made that decision to quit your job and present you with this other income opportunity that was going to fulfill your lifestyle design. And I just want to highlight that because that's where miracles happen. We can't explain it. We don't know how it happens, but that's why I encourage you guys, if you follow this process, it's really cool how these unexpected things come along that you can't even design yourself. You tell the universe or higher powers or God, how you want to feel, and then somehow magically it appears like that. So how did that feel for you?
It's great because I'm actually a crazy manifester when I want to be. I call it like a mofo manifester because some of the stuff I've manifested is absolutely crazy. But to truly manifest things in your life, you really do have to be intentional and you have to be clear. You can't be wishy-washy. You can't think, well, maybe I want that. Maybe that would make me happy. You really have to be clear. So when I have set my intention, the universe shows up. And just like working with you, when I decided, because I was kind of, like I said, all over the place, but I decided I'm done with this. I want to get clear on what it is, what I want to do in my life, how I want to feel. And so that's how you and I started working together, because I couldn't do it alone. I was a little bit scatterbrained, trying to work my JOB, trying to take care of my kids. So to have accountability and have support for me was huge. And one of the things I do want to point out that was very different in working with you, because I have worked with other coaches, I have hired them, and it was not successful. And the reason I believe that is because they always focused on the dollar amount. the first questions out of, their mouths to me or in any forms I had to fill out for them were, how much money do you want to make? And what I've realized is when you focus on, making money is great. Believe me, I do want to make a lot of money. But when you focus on a dollar amount, you're always chasing a dollar amount. You're not necessarily chasing how you want to live your life. So even though I know this, like I said, it's easier for you to preach it to other people than it is for you to do yourself. But when you actually made me sit down and write my intentions and write how I wanted my life to look, that's when I really started paying attention. I don't even think you've ever once asked me how much I want to make. So, I remember, in some of our first conversations was, I just want to be free. I don't want to, be punching a time clock for somebody else. I want freedom over my schedule, freedom with my family to do and go where I want with them, but at the same time, working and doing something I love. And so once I got clear on that and stopped focusing on the dollar amount, that's when it all happened. It fell into place, got rid of the money block, realized what I was doing, being unhappy just because I didn't want to stress somebody else's life out, which is not fair. You can't live your life, for other people. Yes, in a marriage, you do need to, be a partnership. But at some point, you do have to say, like I did, I'm sick in the morning from this. I can't do it anymore. I'm miserable. And it just all happened and it fell into place just, from deciding to change my mindset and get clear on how I wanted to feel about everything in my life. And then the universe showed up in a way that I didn't even think. I had never thought really about going back into property management and real estate. I thought those days were done. But it showed up. Somebody came to me because they noticed my expertise, they knew my history, and it was a wonderful opportunity, and it allows me the freedom that I was asking for, and it allows me to build my real estate empire that I had asked the universe for. So it just shows up in ways that you never might have imagined, but being open and noticing is what's important.
Well, is there any little bit of advice that you'd like to share? We're going to end now in this last question. Is there any little bit of advice that you'd like to share with our audience for people who might be stuck in a job that they don't love or might be in some other unhappy situation? What you've learned and what you'd like to share with people now?
One of the first things I would say is notice that you're unhappy. And it may not be in your job. Maybe you love your job, but you're unhappy with your health situation. Maybe you're unhappy with the type of relationships you have with your husband or friends. You don't have that many good girlfriends because you're not fulfilling in your relationships. Whatever it is, make the decision that you want to change that, and then get clear on how you want to change it, how you want to feel in those areas, and then take baby steps. And just be open to the possibilities of how the universe is going to show up. Because once you get clear and you make that intention to make a change because you've changed your mindset, the universe is going to show up, whether you want it to or not. It's going to start knocking on your door. So that's, I think, my biggest advice is just don't settle, and then make the decision. Even if you need to work with someone, like I reached out to you to help me get clear. I needed accountability. I had too much going on in my life for me to actually sit, but by you giving me just 3 or 4 action steps a week, that was able to make me sit and just focus so it wasn't so overwhelming. So that's what I would say is.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. I really appreciate it. I love working with you. I feel so lucky to have awesome clients like you. And I hope that this message inspires other people who may be watching to follow this formula and try it out for yourself. And if quitting your job or whatever is too big of a step, take a little mini step. Try this manifesting out. Set an intention. Put it out to the universe. And if you need support, we're here for you. You can find more about Stephanie at stephaniejohnson.com. You can find me at sweetspotstyle.com or sweetspotstyleyourbiz.com. And again, I just want to thank you, Stephanie, and thank you guys for watching. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.